The receptionist's voice crackled through the intercom. "Miss Chen, your 3 o'clock is here." I didn't look up from my computer screen. "Send her in." My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling slightly. 5 years. It had been 5 years since I'd heard her voice. 5 years since she'd slammed the door in my face and told me I was a pathetic excuse for a sister. The door opened. "Thank you so much for seeing me. I really—" The voice died mid-sentence. I let the silence stretch for exactly 10 seconds before I raised my eyes from the screen. If you are watching this, please hit that like button, subscribe, and mention in the comments where you are watching this from. I would like to know how far my story has reached. My sister Rachel stood frozen in the doorway, her mouth slightly open, her resume clutched in both hands like a shield. "Hello, Rachel," I said. "Please, sit down." She looked older. The lines around her eyes had deepened, and there was a tightness to her mouth that hadn't been there before. Her designer handbag hung from her shoulder, but I noticed the shoes were scuffed. The blouse was expensive, but not new. "Maya," she whispered. "I didn't know. They didn't tell me." "That the CEO's name was Maya Chen?" I leaned back in my leather chair. "Strange. It's on the company website. But then again, you never were very good at research." She flinched. "Please," Rachel said, stepping forward. "Can we talk, as sisters?" I glanced at my watch. "You have 45 minutes. That's how long it's scheduled for this interview." I gestured to the chair. "Sit." She sat. I picked up her resume, though I'd already memorized every line. "So, you're looking for a position as a senior marketing coordinator. That's quite a step down from marketing director at Whitman & Associates, isn't it?" Rachel's hands twisted in her lap. "The company downsized. I was let go." I made a notation. "And that was 9 months ago. That's a long time to be unemployed." "I've been looking," she said, desperation creeping into her voice. "The market is tight. I've had interviews, but nothing has worked out. Tell me, Rachel, why do you want to work here?" She launched into a rehearsed speech about company values and growth opportunities. I let her talk, watching the way her hands moved, the way she avoided direct eye contact. When she finished, I leaned forward. "I'm going to ask you again, and this time I want the truth. Why do you want to work here?" Rachel's composure cracked. "Because I need a job, Maya. I'm in financial trouble. After I lost my job, I made bad decisions. Took out loans. My husband's business isn't doing well. We're drowning." The word drowning hung in the air. I remembered drowning. I remembered gasping for air, reaching out for help, and finding nothing but locked doors. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, meaning none of it. "But I can't make hiring decisions based on sympathy." "I know. I'm good at what I do. Check my references. I increased client retention by 37% at Whitman. I developed award-winning campaigns. I can do the same for you." "Perhaps." I stood and walked to the window. "Do you remember the last time we saw each other, Rachel?" The question dropped like a stone. "Maya, please, do you remember?" I turned to face her. She looked down. "Yes." "Tell me what happened." "That's not relevant to." "Tell me, or this interview is over." Rachel's face had gone pale. "You came to my house. You asked to borrow money." "How much?" $5,000. "And what did you say?" She was crying now. "I said no." "That's not all you said." I walked back to my desk. "What else, Rachel?" "I don't remember the exact words." "I do." I picked up a piece of paper. "Would you like me to read them?" I wrote them down that night, every single word. I've kept the note for 5 years. Rachel shook her head, but I read anyway. "You've always been a failure, Maya. This is just who you are. I'm not throwing my money away on another one of your disasters. You're 30 years old and you have nothing to show for your life. Nothing. Get out of my house and don't come back until you've figured out how to be a functioning adult." Rachel was openly sobbing now. I was 30. I continued softly. I had just lost my job. My apartment, my car had been repossessed. I had $73 in my bank account. I came to you because you were my sister. Because I thought that had to mean something. I'm sorry, Rachel choked out. Maya, I'm so sorry. I was cruel. I was wrong. Then why didn't you call? 5 years. Rachel, 5 years and not one phone call. I was ashamed. No, you were comfortable. You didn't think about me at all until you needed something. She didn't answer. Here's what's going to happen, I said. I'm going to offer you a job. Rachel's head snapped up, hope blazing in her eyes. But not the one you applied for. I have an opening in our mailroom. Entry level, minimum wage, sorting correspondence, making deliveries, basic administrative work. Rachel stared at me. The mailroom? Yes. But I have 15 years of marketing experience. And I had 6 years of experience when I was living in my car. I cut her off. Take the job or don't, Rachel. But that's the only offer you'll get from me. This is revenge. No, I'm offering you a job. That's more than you offered me. I can't take a mailroom position. Then don't. I picked up my phone. You can show yourself out. Rachel stood on shaky legs but didn't move toward the door. I could see the war on her face, pride versus necessity. If I take it, she said slowly, would there be opportunities to advance? I looked at her and saw myself 5 years ago, broken, begging. That depends entirely on you, I said. She nodded. Then I accept. Good. I pressed the intercom. Jennifer, send up new hire paperwork for an entry-level mailroom position. I released the button. You'll start Monday, 8 a.m. Don't be late. Rachel walked to the door, then paused. Maya, I really am sorry, for what it's worth. We'll see, I said. She left. I sat alone in my office, staring at the closed door. I didn't feel the triumph I'd imagined. I felt empty, hollow, but it was too late to take it back now. Monday morning, I arrived at 6. I wanted to be there when Rachel came in. I watched from my office as she stepped off the elevator at 7:45, 15 minutes early. She wore jeans and a plain sweater. Her hair was pulled back. She looked small. David, the mailroom supervisor, met her at the door. I watched him show her to a small desk in the corner, surrounded by sorting bins and mail carts. She nodded, shoulders squared. I watched, and I felt nothing. The week passed. I went down to the mailroom once a day. Rachel never looked up. She kept her head down and did her work. On Thursday, I found her arguing with David. This sorting system is inefficient, Rachel was saying. If you reorganized by department first, you could cut delivery time by 15%. David crossed his arms. We've been doing it this way for 8 years. And you've been wasting time for 8 years. Rachel grabbed paper and started sketching. Look, if you group legal here and marketing here. Ms. Chen, I said, stepping in. They both froze. May I speak with you? Privately. Rachel followed me to a small office. I closed the door. You've been here 4 days and you're already restructuring operations? I was trying to help. You're a mailroom clerk. Your job is to sort mail, not design systems. Rachel's jaw tightened. So I'm supposed to turn my brain off? You're supposed to do the job you were hired to do. The job you gave me to humiliate me. The truth was finally naked between us. Yes, I said simply. She blinked, clearly not expecting the admission. Did you think I'd pretend otherwise? You're here because I wanted you to know what it feels like to be reduced to nothing, to beg for scraps from someone. I get it, Rachel said, her voice breaking. I'm sorry. How many times do I have to say it? I don't know. How many times did I apologize for asking for help? I was wrong. What more do you want from me? I turned to the window. I don't know. And I realized it was true. I'd spent 5 years imagining this moment. But now I felt nothing but emptiness. Go back to work, I said quietly. She stared at me, then left. 2 weeks later, David came to my office. It's about Rachel Chen, he said. I wanted to talk before I filed a report. My stomach tightened. What happened? Nothing bad. Actually, the opposite. She's really good. I blinked. Excuse me? That reorganization she suggested, I let her implement it. She was right. We've cut delivery time by 18% and reduced errors by 22%. He showed me data on his tablet. She also noticed we were paying for expedited shipping on documents that didn't need it. Created a routing system that's saving $3,000 a month. I stared at the numbers. She's been training other clerks too, David continued. 2 have already improved efficiency by 30%. She's the best employee I've supervised. I want to recommend her for promotion. A promotion? Assistant mailroom supervisor, with a pay increase. No. David looked surprised. No? Not yet. Give her another month. If she maintains performance, we'll talk. May I ask why we're waiting? Because I don't want her to succeed, I thought. I want to make sure it's sustainable, I said aloud. David nodded, though he looked skeptical. All right, 1 month. After he left, I pulled up security footage. Rachel was at her desk, training a new hire. Even through the camera, I could see the focus in her eyes. I closed the window. The month passed. Rachel improved. David returned with his recommendation, and I couldn't refuse. Rachel became assistant mailroom supervisor with a $5 raise. Still far below what her experience should command, but she took it with quiet gratitude. 3 months later, David retired. He recommended Rachel for his position. I sat with her personnel file open. Every review was glowing. Every metric showed improvement. She'd transformed the mailroom into one of our most efficient departments, and I hated it. I hated that she was succeeding, that I couldn't justify keeping her down. But most of all, I hated that part of me was proud of her. I promoted her to mailroom supervisor at $45,000 a year. Still insulting, but it was progress. She sent an email. Thank you for the opportunity. I won't let you down. I deleted it without responding. 6 months later, our VP of marketing quit suddenly. I needed a replacement fast. I reviewed applications, but none impressed me. They lacked something. Vision, creativity, that spark. You should interview Rachel. I looked up. Jennifer stood in my doorway. Excuse me? For the VP position, I've been watching her. She's brilliant, Maya. She's helped 3 other departments improve operations. People respect her. She's a mailroom supervisor. She's a talented marketing executive working in the mailroom. Jennifer met my eyes. You know it. Everyone knows it. Thank you for your input, I said coldly. That will be all. Jennifer left, but her words stayed. I pulled up Rachel's original resume. The campaigns she'd developed, the awards, the revenue she'd generated. She'd been good, really good, before I buried her in the mailroom. Late that night, alone in my office, I pulled up security footage from 5 years ago. The video from my apartment building's hallway camera. The one I'd never told anyone I kept. I watched myself, younger, thinner, approach Rachel's door. Watched myself knock. Watched the door open. There was no audio, but I didn't need it. I remembered every word. I watched Rachel's face, saw her expression shift from surprise to disgust, saw her mouth move, saw her step back and close the door, and I saw myself standing there, shoulders shaking. I'd watched this video 100 times in 5 years. Always, it fueled my anger. But tonight, I noticed something else. I noticed Rachel's face in that split second before the door closed. The tightness around her eyes, the way her hand trembled. She'd looked afraid. Not disgusted. Afraid. I rewound and watched again, and slowly, something shifted inside me. What had Rachel been afraid of? I pulled up my phone and called Mom. She answered on the 3rd ring. Maya, is something wrong? No, I have a question. About Rachel. 5 years ago, when I was going through everything, did Rachel say anything to you? A pause. She was worried about you. Worried? She called me a failure. I know, I was furious. But Maya, you have to understand, she was scared. Scared of what? Of turning into you. The words hit like a blow. Rachel's husband's business had started failing around that time, Mom continued. They'd taken out a second mortgage. She was carrying their entire financial burden. When you showed up asking for money, I think she saw herself in you, saw what she might become, and she panicked. So she kicked me out? I'm not excusing what she did. But people do terrible things when they're afraid, honey. They hurt the people who remind them of their own vulnerabilities. After we hung up, I sat in the dark, and I finally asked myself, what was I really doing? Monday morning, I called Rachel to my office. She entered warily. Sit down, I said. She sat. I picked up a folder and held it out. This is the job description for VP of Marketing. I'd like you to review it. Rachel took it slowly. She opened it and scanned the page, her brow furrowing. I don't understand. I'm offering you the position. Her head snapped up. What? The salary is $175,000 plus bonuses. You'd have a team of 12. You'd be responsible for all marketing strategy. I leaned back. The job is yours if you want it. Rachel's hands were shaking. This is a trick. No trick. Then what is it? Another way to humiliate me? No, I stood and walked to the window. It's an apology. Silence. I brought you here to punish you, I continued. I wanted you to suffer the way I suffered, and I succeeded. For 7 months, I watched you struggle, and I felt satisfied. I turned to face her, but I don't anymore. I just feel tired. Rachel's eyes were glistening. What you did to me was cruel, I said. I won't pretend it didn't almost destroy me, but what I've done to you has been just as cruel. I'm done being angry. I'm done being vindictive. I'm just done. Why now? Rachel whispered. What changed? Mom told me why you were so afraid when I showed up. About your husband's business, the mortgage. I walked back to my desk. It doesn't excuse what you said, but it helps me understand it. And understanding is the first step toward forgiveness. I don't deserve this, Rachel said. I don't deserve your forgiveness or this job. Maybe not, but I'm offering it anyway. Not because you've earned it, but because I'm choosing to be better than the person who hurt me. Rachel stared at the folder, tears streaming down her face. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take the job. Say we can start over. Can we? She looked up. Can we really? I thought about the video, about the 5 years of nursing my anger, about the emptiness of revenge. I don't know, I said honestly, but I'd like to try. Rachel closed the folder and pressed it to her chest. Then yes. Yes to all of it. There's one condition, I said. Rachel tensed. What? Sunday dinners, at Mom's, once a month, both of us. She blinked. Okay. And Rachel, if you ever speak to me the way you did 5 years ago, if you ever treat anyone that way, you're fired. No second chances. Understood. She nodded. I swear. Don't swear. Just prove it. I pulled up a calendar. Your first day as VP is Monday. That gives you the rest of this week to transition. Rachel stood, clutching the folder. She walked to the door, then turned back. Thank you for the chance. Thank Jennifer. She suggested I interview you. I will. Rachel paused. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. What you've built here, it's incredible. Yes, I said. You should have said that years ago. She nodded and left. I sat alone, feeling lighter than I had in 5 years. The anger was still there, but it no longer controlled me. I'd forgotten what it felt like to let go, to choose something other than pain. It felt like freedom. 6 months later, I sat in a conference room with Rachel and the executive team, reviewing quarterly results. Rachel's campaigns had increased customer acquisition by 43%. Revenue was up. Everything is up. She'd exceeded every expectation. After the meeting, she hung back. Can we talk? She asked. Of course, she closed the door. I want to tell you something. When you showed up at my door 5 years ago, I was terrified. Not of helping you. I was terrified of becoming you. My husband's business was failing. We were drowning in debt. Seeing you like that, broke, desperate. It was like looking into a mirror of my possible future. "Mom told me," I said. "But she didn't tell you the rest." Rachel's voice was soft. After I closed the door, I sat on the floor and cried for 2 hours. I knew what I'd done was unforgivable, but I was so scared that if I helped you, it would somehow make my situation worse. Like it would jinx me. That doesn't make sense. I know. Fear doesn't make sense. She looked at her hands. I called Mom that night. She told me I needed to apologize, but I was too ashamed. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The longer I waited, the more impossible it seemed. "But you didn't lose everything. You and Mark are fine." "Actually, we're not." Rachel met my eyes. "We lost the house 6 months after I turned you away. Filed for bankruptcy a year later. Everything I was afraid of, it happened anyway. The only difference is I had to face it without a sister." I stared at her. "I didn't lose my job because of downsizing," she continued. "I had a breakdown, a complete mental collapse. I couldn't get out of bed for 3 months. Mark left me. I lost everything, Maya, just like you did. And I had no one because I'd burned that bridge. Why didn't you tell me this when you applied? Would it have mattered?" She smiled sadly. "You wanted me to suffer, and I didn't deserve sympathy. I deserved your Anne." "You're right," I said. "I did want you to suffer. And I did. Every day in that mailroom, I felt it. Every time you walked past without speaking, I felt it. You got your revenge, Maya. You got it long before you hired me." We sat in silence. "So why are you telling me now?" I asked. "Because I want you to know that you're not the villain of this story. Neither am I. We're just 2 people who hurt each other when we were at our worst." She stood. "And I want you to know that I meant what I said. I'm proud of you. Not just for building this company, but for being strong enough to forgive me when you didn't have to." After she left, I sat in the empty conference room and cried for the first time in 5 years. Not sad tears, not angry tears, but something cleaner. Relief. Sunday dinners at Mom's became a ritual. The first few were awkward. We circled each other carefully, avoiding the deep waters. But slowly, we found our way back to something resembling sisterhood. We'd never be as close as before. That innocence was gone. But we were building something new, something stronger. Rachel thrived as VP. Within a year, she transformed our marketing department, won awards, generated millions in revenue. And I let go of the last remnants of my anger. Not because she'd earned forgiveness through work, not because enough time had passed, but because holding on to rage was exhausting. Did I still remember that night, standing in front of her closed door? Yes. Did it still hurt? Yes. But the pain was no longer the defining fact of my life. It was just a scar, a reminder of what I'd survived. 2 years after Rachel started, she knocked on my door late on a Friday. "Got a minute?" she asked. "Sure." I closed my laptop. "What's up?" She sat, looking nervous. "I've been offered another job." My heart sank. "Oh." "It's a CEO position at a startup. Venture capital funding. A lot of potential. It's a good opportunity." "It sounds like it. Are you going to take it?" "I don't know. That's why I'm here." She leaned forward. "That job would be a huge step up. More money, more prestige. But it would mean leaving what we've built. Leaving the team. Leaving you. And that matters to you?" "Yes." She said it without hesitation. "It matters a lot. We've come so far, Maya, not just professionally, but as sisters. I don't want to throw that away for a title." I sat back, considering my words. 5 years ago, I wanted nothing more than to see you fail. But that's not who I am anymore. I won't stand in the way of your success, even if it means losing a great V. "So you think I should take it?" "I think you should do what's best for you. Not what you think I want, just what's best for Rachel." She was quiet for a long moment. "What if I stayed? Can I be thrilled to keep working with you? What if I stayed, but in a different role?" She pulled out a paper and slid it across my desk. What if we restructured? Made you CEO and me COO. True partners, equal equity, shared decision-making. I stared at the paper. You want to be my business partner? I want us to build something together, not as employer and employee, as equals. She met my eyes. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway. It would have been so easy to say no, to hold on to my position, my power, to keep Rachel slightly below me. But I'd spent years learning that revenge was empty, that power without trust was lonely. Let me think about it, I said. I sat in my office until midnight, staring at that paper. The proposal was brilliant. It would leverage both our strengths and position us for growth. But that wasn't what made me hesitate. What made me hesitate was trust. Could I trust Rachel not to betray me again? I called Mom. It's midnight, she answered groggily. Someone better be dying. Sorry, I need advice. About Rachel? I explained the proposal, the partnership, the risk. And you're afraid she'll hurt you again, Mom said. Yes. Good. I blinked. Good? Maya, fear means you care. It means you have something to lose. For 5 years, you didn't care about anything except your anger. But now you're afraid, which means you're alive again. Mom paused. The question isn't whether you can trust Rachel. The question is whether you're willing to be vulnerable enough to try. After we hung up, I looked out at the city and thought about vulnerability. About the night I'd stood at Rachel's door, completely exposed. But I also thought about the past 2 years. About watching Rachel work 14-hour days. About the Sunday dinners where we'd slowly rebuilt our relationship. Maybe trust wasn't about guarantees. Maybe it was about choosing to believe despite the risk. Monday morning, I called Rachel in. I have conditions, I said, sliding a document across the desk. Her eyes widened. You're saying yes? Read the conditions. She scanned the document. 1. Weekly one-on-one meetings. 2. Formal conflict resolution process. 3. Family therapy for 6 months. 4. Buyout clause if the relationship became untenable. 5. A written promise never to weaponize our professional relationship. Family therapy? Rachel looked up. Really? Really, we need help rebuilding trust. She nodded. Okay, I agree. There's one more thing. I pulled out another document. Read this. It was the letter I'd written 5 years ago and never sent. The one detailing every thought, every feeling from the night she'd closed the door. Rachel read it slowly, tears streaming down her face. When she finished, she looked up. Thank you for showing me this, she whispered. I need you to understand what we're building on, I said. The foundation is cracked. We can build on it, but we both need to acknowledge the cracks are there. I understand. And I need you to promise me something. If we do this, I need you to promise you'll never minimize what happened. That you'll never tell me to get over it when I'm having a hard day. I promise, Maya, I will spend the rest of my life making this right. Not because I expect you to forget, but because you deserve better. I picked up a pen and signed the partnership agreement. Then I slid it across to her. Rachel stared at it, then picked up the pen with a shaking hand and signed. Partners, she said. Partners, I agreed. We shook hands, and I felt something shift. The power imbalance evaporated. We were equals now. 3 years after Rachel walked into my office for that first interview, we stood together on a stage accepting an award for fastest growing company in the region. I'd like to thank my business partner and sister, Rachel said into the microphone, for taking a chance on me when she had every reason not to. The audience applauded, not knowing the weight behind those words. Later, Rachel pulled me aside. I've been seeing a therapist, on my own, she said, working through the fear and insecurity that made me do what I did. I wanted to tell you that I understand now, why I was so cruel. It doesn't excuse it, but I understand it, and I'm dealing with it. Rachel, let me finish. I also wanted to tell you that you saved my life, not just by giving me a job, but by giving me a chance to become someone better. You could have destroyed me, but instead, you chose to believe people can change, and I did, because you made space for me to do it. I felt tears welling. You did the hard work. I just opened the door. You did more than that. You showed me what real strength looks like. Not revenge, not cruelty, but the courage to forgive when forgiveness seems impossible. We hugged, and for the first time since that terrible night, it felt like we were whole. Not undamaged. The scars would always be there, but whole despite them. Today, 5 years after Rachel walked into my office, we run a company worth $50 million. We have 200 employees across 6 cities. We've been featured in Forbes. We're successful by any measure. But that's not what I'm most proud of. What I'm most proud of is the relationship we've built, the trust we've earned, the love we've reclaimed. Sometimes late at night, I think about that younger version of myself standing at Rachel's door. I think about how broken I was, how angry, how convinced that revenge was the only path, and I'm grateful that I was wrong, because revenge would have destroyed us both. But forgiveness, messy, imperfect, painfully earned forgiveness, that saved us. Rachel knocks on my office door. "Hey," she says, "wanna grab dinner? There's this new Thai place." "Sure." I save my work and grab my coat. As we walk to the elevator, Rachel says, "Thank you." For what? For not giving up on me, for seeing past who I was to who I could become. I hit the button for the lobby. Thank you for becoming that person. The elevator doors close, and I catch our reflection in the polished metal. 2 women who look alike but aren't the same, who share history but aren't bound by it, who chose love over hate, healing over hurt, forgiveness over revenge. Sisters, not perfect, not undamaged, but together. And that's enough. Let me know which city you are watching this from and if you liked my story, so that I can keep bringing more stories like this to you. Thank you so much for your support. I'm looking forward to your comments on my story.